Okay, so final presentation for today. A bit of a special thing that we've kind of held to last. We did this last year as well. I talked at the very beginning of the day in my intro talk this morning about the fact that HSMA is kind of for life. You're kind of stuck with us once you're an HSMA. Indeed, the whole theme of today is the never-ending impact story. Um, uh, and it's really nice to hear about some of the work that our alumni have been doing as part of this program. And we've got a fantastic alumnus here today, Peter, formerly of NHS England, talking about a fantastic piece of work that he's been doing around building a tool that looks at um, more equitably allocating GP funding. So, Peter, I'm going to hand over to you to tell your story because I think this is a fantastic example of why we want to continue to support HSMA projects long beyond the point at which you've kind of finished the official program.
Thanks, Dan. So let me screen share. Hopefully you can see my presentation.
Yeah, that's come through okay, Peter.
Okay, so my name is Peter Saiu. I'm Deputy Head of BI team for NHS England in the London region in the specialized commissioning. And I was a student in the HSMI 5 cohort, so last year. And spoiler alert, thanks to the program, I became also from a just an analyst. This also gave me the opportunity also to improve my career. But let me go through a few the slides just to show you about my project, which was relatively successful. So I'm going to tell you about the tool I created, EFIT, which stands for Extra Funding Inequality Tool. And this is a software that supports ICBs to tailor the allocation of extra funding. So a little bit of reassurance for those who want to apply to the program. So I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about Python. And once I started, I was probably the least one among the peer support group. I was the least expert in the room. But as Dan mentioned in the first lecture, I think he said that learning Python is like learning a new language. So essentially, you have to practice very often, a little bit, but very often. But the beauty of the HSMI program for me was that the content varies a lot, exposes you to a bit of everything, and eventually maybe not, most of it might not apply to your job, but at some point you will find something that actually does. So, and that's where you can improve your skills in Python. So projects, if you want to develop one, don't have to be difficult. So mine is relatively easy, but it has to address a problem. In my case, there was a gap, and we were trying to fill that gap with this tool. Again, so I did struggle a lot at first with the Python until my Eureka moment. And again, not surprisingly, it was after I attended the Streamlit lesson. I can see Streamlit is very popular also with this year, and it's probably the winner of the course. But let me give you a 1-minute introduction on my project. So I used to work for an ICB, so an integrated care board. And in general, so while the allocation of core NHS funding to GP practices is well established nationally, there is currently no national guidance on how to proceed with extra fundings. So if ICBs receive this extra funding, it might be up to that team's program director to decide how to split the money. And some teams might not even be aware of inequalities or health needs of the population. So they might actually widen inequalities even further. In our ICB, the program directors or clinical lead might come to me and say, can you please do your thing? And this required quite a lot of time, a lot of Excel skills. But after a while and many attempts, I said, why not create a tool where they can do this themselves? And actually, I made myself obsolete at the end, and I had to change organization. But anyway, that's another story. So I developed a user-friendly app with Streamlit to help ICB managers to easily calculate how to split extra funding based on the GP population and on health needs, meaning the health indicators. And so I'm not going to go through the methodology, but obviously the calculation is made with an equation, which is relatively complex for a program, for a project manager, for example, which might not have the analytical skills that you have, for example. So for me, was key to make a very user-friendly tool. And this is a practical example where we use the tool. In this scenario, I helped a clinical lead for cancer to help plan an intervention to improve bowel cancer screening among over 50s. And the extra funding awarded was 1 million. So I'm going to show you what the tool looks like, which is available at this website. Just give it a second. Hopefully you can still see my screen. So this is the tool. And again, this already simplifies the process a lot because none of the program managers or program directors or any other colleague can install Python. So having the tool available for them in a website is already removing some of the barriers. So this was definitely an advantage. Then we try to make it very, very simple. So what a clinical lead or program director has to do is just work their way down the sidebar menu, as you have seen already from many of the other talks. So you would have to select your ICB, select the funding you have. So in my example is £1 million. Let's say this intervention is for over 50s. You can select this. And what this is doing is using the GP data. Lastly, they have to select health indicators that will define the health needs of the population. Again, here I'm going random, but there is a long list of indicators. And that's it. So what the user would have to do is just hit the calculate button. Results are pretty much instantaneous. They can download the data in a CSV file. They can have extra columns for extra information, but also they can view it as a chart. There's a few more also functionalities. I'm not going to go into detail. You've seen there are many functionalities from the other talks. But I'm going to go back to the presentation and just show you how simple really it was. Again, this is how I learned Python, just by applying and working on this project. But you can see how relatively it is to make some of the functionalities. So, for example, these few lines of code, just by defining the functionality you want, so the number input will create the this part of the app. Again, using a slider, we'll create this one. Again, just a few lines of code. And same, you can use a radio button and you will have this thing. Very, very simple. And then in the background, so the user will not see this. This is all in the back end, but this is how the calculations are being done. And this is the equation I was referring to before. Again, it's not really difficult to code it. You can do also the slightly more complicated versions, all relatively easy. But the user, again, doesn't have to care because you, with the Streamlit and your coding with an efficient code, you can make it just as simple as pressing a button. So again, this is the code to press the button. Very easy. So in conclusion, so again, I'm part of the previous year cohort. So, and I was invited to give the Alumnus Story. So I couldn't give you, I cannot give you a motivational speech like Arnold Schwarzenegger could give you, but I can just say, so be innovative, try to learn as many techniques as possible. and then try to showcase your work any way you can. So volunteering, for example, to present your project at your all staff calls, at conferences, also by submitting your project for awards. That gives quite a lot of uh, mm, of visibility for for your project, but also in job interviews. So this is what when I landed this project in one of my interviews, that's apparently how I got the job. So it can give you lots of opportunities also personally. But just something to bear in mind. So coding was only half of the time for the overall project. The rest was raising awareness of the tool. So once you publish it, it's very easy for people to forget. So I had to spend quite a lot of time in trying to raise awareness by asking to be invited at different ICBs, conferences, as I mentioned. And you can link to anyone. For example, also Dan has been very, very helpful in linking me with some ICBs in the Southwest, or also publishing the case study in his website. He can also help publishing journal paper in journals. I'm a little bit behind with that one, but thanks Dan for that help as well. And lastly, so for me, the HSMA program has been a great experience. You can learn, it's a steep learning curve, but it's definitely worth it. And it can open many doors. So you can have, at the end, you will have a particular set of skills, which makes you very hireable. Of course, there's people with extra set of Python skills. But yeah, so that's it. And again, a big acknowledgement to Dan and Sammy, a little bit of Copilot as well. And that's it. Thanks very much for the opportunity to talk.
Brilliant, thank you, Peter. And no better way to close out the day than by comparing me to Liam Neeson. So I think that's an obvious comparison, perhaps. But brilliant. No, thank you very much. Fantastic to hear that story. I think it's such a wonderful example of what we've been really talking about from the start of the day. That the idea of this program is to promote building in-house capacity within health and care organisations in order to be able to do this stuff on an ongoing basis. And the HSMA community that we've built is there as the kind of continual support network to support that and to encourage it and to collaborate. So fantastic to hear that. Thank you very much.